Okay. So I'm going to share screen. And here is, okay. So in this prelude, ooh, Mario, this is very colorful. I like it. So, there's been a lot of repertoire upgrades to in instrumental music, this issue of the piano being a percussion instrument, and the unsustainability of and the uncontrolled decay of the piano articulation, which is pretty much the feature of this instrument. And you can't really fight it, right? And so a lot of the master of writing for the piano understand the piano to have this kind of, once you attack the note and then the decaying of the note is out of your control, pretty much. Your only control is whether you sustain it with the sustaining pedal, you hold it down, or you stop the note. And that's pretty much it. And so I think this piece is it's timeless, and it's also very much alive today. One of the reasons is that it has been composed in this texture. Texture writing for the piano wasn't really in the forefront of the composition consciousness until like early 20th century, and until Debussy, really. Most of the piano repertoire, the classical and romantic, Beethoven started doing some of that later, much later in his career. But writing and using a texture as the driving force, as driving the momentum of the piece, and still uh, retain that shape of the melodic impulses. This kind of thinking was actually very much ahead of its time for Chopin. This is still early Chopin, like early middle. Not like beginning, but still, this is towards the mature Chopin. And Bach, again, think about the sixth Brandenburg Concerto. Okay, the one that's da da dum da 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 dum da 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 dum. This is all the lower strings. The one that's all lower strings. Let me know if you're not familiar with that. And the way that it is composed, it's almost like Steve Reich's phasing, the texture writing. It's a strong echo. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's a strong echo. Okay, and this is in some ways a echo to kind of links these two. It is a consistent texture. The texture did not change, and the consistency of this texture made other elements exposed, so that the other elements, such as the melodic and the harmonic integrity, because of the consistency, it can be heard as the silhouette, and as the narrative, and as the momentum is whole another conversation, because it has both. Momentum has to be created with both. But as we're gonna hear two presentations today, what I urge you to think about in the back of your head is that what is the kind of decision that he made not to do? Okay, it's kind of easier for us to look at the page and say, here's what I think happened. But what I want you to think about at all times during today's studio class is, what did Chopin decide not to do? What was eliminated from from composing, from the process of composing this piece. So we're gonna, of course, really like dig deep into even the pitch and the modulations, the progression in very, very fine resolution. But in the back of your head, while he made the decision to do this, do you know the decision? Can you guess the decisions of what I'm not gonna do, what he decided not to do? Okay, and this is also from moment to moment. So Mario and Uno, as you're presenting your analysis today, maybe I can urge you to kind of just riff or improvise on what's your thought on that? Okay, so Mario, would you like to start?
Sure. This is my coloring project for today because I like color. Anyway, I think that a lot of what Chopin was going for, he stated kind of in that first measure. Oh, you have the cursor, so you can always highlight, but the first measure right there. And you can see throughout it that every measure has that triplet in the bass line and on the first beat going consistently through the piece. And the consistent, also the second triplet in the treble part, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But I think what's interesting is if you see the little green boxes that I highlighted in the first measure, he has this G to A, which is echoed in the right there, G to A. If you look in the second measure, it's the same thing. Those two notes in the same place are G to A and G to A and so on and so forth. So I think that he was taking this idea of really highlighting that stepwise motion by doubling it with a little bit of a pause between when you hear it at the top of the range. So you hear it in the bass or in the bass clef first, but then it's elongated slightly and then shortened when it gets to the higher voice. The reason I highlighted the first four measures in yellow is because if you notice in the second measure before, when there's kind of like a little recap of the A, I'm calling the first 8 measures, they're like the first section, the A section of the piece. That's those 4 measures are repeated directly there in the second line. But then after that, it starts to do something different. And then the reason I drew the arrows going up or down is the motion of that second triplet in the treble line. Those are always moving stepwise up, stepwise up, stepwise up. Those the first 3 are the same, but then it goes a little higher, and then the 4 measures afterwards are all step down, step down, step down, step down. So it's kind of I think he's building in an inherent crescendo, maybe an unknown crescendo, but he's doing it by moving up a little higher, as you also see the bass notes are moving up, moving up, moving up as well in those sections. What else did I do in there? Then I guess the big change after the repeat of those first 4 bars is that he then starts to move up. He does the same idea. So if you look at those same bass notes and treble notes that I talked about that are highlighted in green, he does exactly the same idea, but now instead of what's mostly a whole step, he's then going up by half steps. So if you see the D sharp to E, and then down by a whole step, and then up by a half step. And then he starts this crazy progression of up by half steps, up by half steps, up by half steps, building up the intensity. And again, also, that's the big crescendo. I don't know, I saw 2 different versions of this, one that had dynamic markings written in, and this one which did not have any dynamic markings written in, but I don't know. But I feel like every time he's doing these movements, especially that's highlighted in purple there in the middle, where he's moving up by half steps. He's just trying to build up the intensity, build up the intensity, build up the intensity, and then coming back down again on the fourth stave there in blue, because now he's coming down stepwise. So I think he's moving up a little bit. He's ratcheting up the intensity by going into the modulation area, and then slowly coming out of the modulation by removing all of the sharps as he's coming back down. Then when we get to what I call recap-ish there in the fourth stave, he just repeats the first measure of the piece, and then repeats. The reason I have it in purple is then he's switching between the first and fifth measure of the piece. So he's kind of going back to the thematic material that's at the beginning of the piece, but just rearranging the order of the measures to bring us back down. And then for the last four measures, he just goes into that little offbeat area. He completely abandons the descending or ascending triplet in the second beat of each measure to the held over C in the treble of that. And I think that he's now saying, okay, we're home, we're going home, we're going home, we're going home. And then of course the little coda where I say home, where it's just a big glissando on everything C major. So yeah, that's kind of what I got out of this piece. I really feel like he's trying to, I think what he's trying to exclude is a lot of unnecessary complications, because if you look back at the first measure again, he really limits the bass notes to that arpeggiated chord on the first beat, and the announcement of what's going to be coming in the second beat in the treble clef. And then the only other things that are left are three other notes in the first measure, just a C, an E, and a C, which continue the motion, the up and down motion that he's going for in kind of the accompaniment, what I'm calling the accompaniment part, but which really clearly, usually very clearly defines the chord that he's going for in each of those measures. So the two aspects of the piece that he's really trying to do is, I feel like, the arpeggiated accompaniment that is in the lower notes, that that first chord, and then the notes that are coming back down again in that crazy crossbar or cross stave triplet on the way back down, and then the prime notes that he's trying to hit, which are repeated both in the bass and the treble clef. And I think he just got an idea, he had this idea of these arpeggiations and then these stepwise movements, and then he just kind of took off with it and recreated it in every measure, but added in the harmonic changes as we get to the end of the second stave to keep momentum, keep interest going, and then to build up to that big crescendo of the piece.
Do you mind if I, Mario, if I take out a highlighter? And I very much like what you did here, which is to highlight the half steps. Would you mind if I highlight some of the other half steps with a different color? I don't know if I can do that, actually.
No, I don't mind at all. I mean, yeah, no, go ahead.
It's just something that I wanna have you talk more about. This is very good. I'm actually highlighter. I'm not very familiar with this particular app, actually. So I'm gonna do like a different color, maybe. to be orange. Okay. So this is also, wait, didn't I say orange? That's not orange. Undo. This orange? No, it's
You have
gray.
to hit the highlighter button at the top there. There's a thing that says highlighter. Yeah, there. I don't know if that makes a...
Oh, you're right. Okay, so I'm just gonna do green. All right, let's see if it'll let me do it. This is, whoa!
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this app. Highlight green. Oh, okay. So I can't do this. So what I want to say is, like, here, for example, I'm gonna turn this off, gonna do this. This one is a half step. And this one, half step. This one, half step. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. Yeah. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So there's, whoa, there's 9, right? Am I missing any? These are the half step features in the outline, in the melodic outline. There isn't really a melodic idea here. Not really. It's not in a way that is shaped as a melody. So what does this half mean here, Mario?
That was just, I just put that in there to indicate that's where the long section of half step starts. I had highlighted the in green 2 measures before because that was kind of a repeat of the same melodic idea there. And then that was where the like 5 measures of half step steps, they're sprinkled, like you highlighted, they're kind of sprinkled in before. But I feel like that's the main passage where he's really starting the big crescendo. Even though the half steps start a little bit before, it's interrupted by the whole step in that second measure, third system. But then where that half step is there is where I really feel the momentum shift and and you really hear the half steps.
So I want to share something. That measure is actually the real half of the piece. So that is 14 measure. So this piece has 33 measures. So the half would be 16.5. So that is about that place. So that's pretty fun too. He starts to build up from the middle of the piece.
And Uno, do you mean this bar right here?
Yes, that bar is 15 bar, and the middle of the piece is 16.5. So it's about there.
Brilliant. Interesting, eh? Yeah. Once you guys get into this, oh my God, the numeral, the proportion work starts. Music theory is not gonna get you any of these, but when composers start counting, really interesting things start to happen. So Mario, what I really enjoyed so far from your iteration is that this, before I get to that, actually, let me back up just a little bit. The A section, what you call the A section, what I understand it to be is, so this is the entire A section, right? From here until here. Or is this what you mean by the A section?
No, I kind of meant just the first 8 measures is kind of the A section.
Really? Okay. So is the divide the starting of the like A
prime?
Yeah, like A apostrophe
right there. Yes.
Right. Okay. So then
I just
something
didn't have room to type it in. I just
yeah, that's fine. So this is like sort of the restart of the A section.
Right.
Right. And then this leads to here, recapish.
Yes.
Okay. And then the pedal tone starts
Yeah.
and ended up. Actually, what do you think about this last note, E? Why do you think Chopin ended the piece highlighting E, the note E?
Probably because you've heard enough C. That's my guess. It's because you're hearing that C constantly, C constantly, C constantly, C constantly.
But where though? Where?
The same place. He replaced the triplet with that repeated C up there on the top.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, that's a very powerful indication for why that's E. But sometimes, and this is where I think intuition start to kick in, is that do you think Chopin knew that the C has to come before the E, and then instead of ending the piece on what's to be expected, which is the tonic, it is on the tonic, but it's different, right? It's got a highlight on the third scale degree. So why is it that it's like C C C C C, which is the tonic off tonic? Aha. You don't have to have an answer. I'm just saying that this is kind of like you look at a piece a few times and say, wait a second. It's reversed. It's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. It defies logic to do any of this. Every chorale that I've been in a church to sing ended pretty much on the tonic. Right? And with some kind of beautiful cadence. And so just something that let's just notice, to take note that this is kind of reversed in a way. Mario, it's your show. Are you gonna let Jonathan ask a question right now?
Sure. I think everyone's welcome to speak now.
Yeah, hey Mario, just a kind of short observation on the choice of E in the final measure. Like what I got a little bit out of is just like in the little coda section you marked, like even though like it's the tonic pedal, like F appears multiple times along with A, and then maybe it's just like hinting like a small stepwise resolution somewhere in the background. I don't know, that's what it feels like to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at one more thing here. So ha. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I have a little thought, but I'll share later because I think Mario, if you're okay, can we move on to Uno?
Sure.
Uno's presentation. Uno, are you ready?
Yeah. You have to make me co-host.
Yes, I will do that. Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this piece is, I think, is separated into 3 parts. So the first part is from the measure 1 to measure 8, so which is here. So
Oh,
it is.
Here we go. Sorry. Uno, you're sharing your screen, right? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I finally see it now. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So this piece is separated into 3 parts. So the first part is here from measure 1 to measure 8. And measure 8 is a little pause here, and this is the half cadence, so it ends at the fifth of the C. And the second part is from here to here, and the last part is from here to here. So it's kind of like Mario just is presented, and so I can speak about more maybe in the why the pieces is ended in E. So I can share a little bit about that. So so the first time the E, the that note appears is in this measure. So the pieces is actually like ascending, 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 and then it E appears and descending, descending. And in this part, no E, no E, no E, E appears and ascending, 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 till E appears and descending again. So it is actually pretty cool that he used like E to change the direction of the piece. That's what I observed. Why E is happened here, 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 in the roots of the chords. So that is my observation of why maybe this pieces end in E. Okay. And also I have this little stuff. So I draw the melody. So G A G A G A. So the reason why I use this highlighter is this note is the non-harmonic tone, non-chord tone in the piece. So the E is in this measure. So when E happens, the non-harmonic tone change to from the from the second B to the first B. So it doesn't change. It not only change the direction of the piece, and also the rhythm also changes from the second B to the first B. So this is also my observation of how he uses rhythm changes and to create like different tensions in the music. Okay, and back to the first page. So what else can I share? And also the middle of the piece is here. So he tries to build up tension till here. And this note, the D is the highest note of the piece, in which this measure is 0.6 of the piece of the if the whole piece is 1. This measure is 0.6. So which is somehow like the golden ratio of the piece. So 0.6 is in this measure, in which he put the highest note here. And after this is keep descending, and this is the C chord extension, C chord, and ends in E. Okay, so I think that is pretty much my observation, different from Mario. Right.
And you also stole my line.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the E is possibly the most important note.
Yes, because we
Yes.
discussed last week, so I think that is good to bring it up. So okay, sorry.
It's okay. Just, well, you know, one of those days I'm not going to be your teacher anymore. And then everything I say like is under, it's my observation. It's okay. It's good. It's good. This is great. So my quick observation here. So Uno, can you move your page to the last page of your manuscript? Yeah.
This one?
Yes. Actually, you know what? Show me the page before. So there's a moment in Mahler's 10th Symphony, in the Adagio in Mahler's 10th Symphony, that the two of the opposing characters, there's a very clear division of two characters. And I mean, the entire half an hour movement, you just kind of have to follow how these two kind of evolve on their own pace and whether they're going to intersect or not, you know, and the suspense is tremendous, which that suspense builds that continuity into a half an hour movement, right? And some of you are about to discover that composing a 5-minute piece versus even composing a 7-minute piece is actually, you're making a different species. It's not even the same process. And then from composing a 7-minute piece to a 15-minute piece is a whole another world also. And then from 15-minute movement, one movement that is 15 minutes, to a 30-minute movement, something else has to happen. And that something else in Mahler, which is related to Uno, what you started to point out here, is that there are sometimes in a harmonic treatment, in the vertical treatment, when the vertical aspect is coherent. Coherence is the key word here. It has to be coherent so that your ear can trace the changes. And in these changes, yes, there is non-harmonic tones, and then there are these harmonic treatment where one is leaving and one is arriving. One is leaving, one is arriving. And in this case, it is already playing out in sort of this very micro movement. And I brought up Mahler because Mahler does this in sort of amplified 1 million, amplified 1 million of its actual size, all right? Our little Mr. Nerve cell here. So in Mahler was what, at least another 120, 30 years after Chopin, 100 years at least after Chopin. And this is late Mahler, so it's already like 1920s, 1920s, yeah. And he was, and in order for continuity to happen, okay, I'm not saying anything else outside of the context, that there has to be something that keeps the music from staying and concluding, right? There has to be something there that keeps the momentum, so that the music needs to move forward. It needs to get to the next point in the music. And that really is the source of almost all of the writer's block, almost all of the uncertainties, is that you can make the next moment into anything. And so why do you make the next moment into the music you just wrote or that you're about to write? You know, this is so anxiety provoking for most composers. Okay, so how many of you have had this experience? Like, I can make the next bar, I can write the next bar into anything. So why am I going to write the music that I'm about to write? Can I justify that? No, you cannot justify that with your own reason. Okay, so that reason, or if it's a reason at all, I'm not saying, again, this is not a reasonable inquiry. This is not about reason. And just watching how Chopin already began to do this in the most microscopic sense, in building these each bar, like each of the 2A bar is a statement of whether he's arriving or whether he is departing, leaving. So the non-harmonic tone comes after. That is kind of the leaving part. And the non-harmonic tone comes before on the downbeat. That is the arriving, the sense of arriving part. And in Mahler's 10th Symphony, the theme A, which is the F sharp major theme, da da dum da 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 dum da. That theme is always leaving the tonic. It always starts on the tonic in the triadic tonic, and there's a million ways of leaving, departing the tonic. And then the theme B, which is always coming from the dominant, and it's always arriving in the tonic. So it's always dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, and then something else happens. So there's this contrast that is somehow, do you think Chopin and Mahler kind of is using this as a principle? I don't think so. Do you think this is something that there's somewhere in the textbook somewhere somebody said, this would be the right thing to do, this is a strategy, this is a tip, rules of composition, you either depart or you arrive, and you just build that? No, there's no such thing. But what is amazing is that this intuition seems to be timeless. Chopin had it, and then Mahler had it, and they were writing completely different kind of music. Mahler was writing chorales. Chopin's writing piano pieces, which is basically percussion music, and it's just building texture, building momentum, building energy, doing energy work. Very Steve Reich, if you think about it. And then very Brandenburg number 6 also. Yeah, so the decision to stay or to leave, right? And that decision, you can't have justification, you can't have reason for it. So let's Uno, I just want to be respectful. Are you done with your presentation? Can we move to the composition part? Yeah. So the fact that when we are doing our composing work, that each moment we're forced to stay in our psychological state, we're forced to stay there. You have to stay with the moment, right? So that creates that almost psychic distortion from what you're writing and what actually is going on in your body. Okay, and this distortion is what creates this anxiety, and that anxiety gets expressed in some of it has to be expressed in your early composition. And I say this with 100% certainty that is the process almost all composers has to work through little by little. By very disciplined concentration on one parameter, one element, let's say one texture. You just kind of focus on one parameter and limit that kind of limitation is kind of what gives permission for that other elements to have the liberty to explore. And in this piece, in this sense, Uno, can you stop sharing your screen for a second? Let's just bring the room back. Thank you. And in this particular piece, you know, oh, I have my notes here. Oh, okay, it's actually very similar to Uno, what you did. The most important note is E. Like, do you think Chopin actually decided before he started writing this piece that the most important note is going to be the E? No way. No way. He knew the one thing he knew. He wanted this opening to be in C major. This part he knew. Yeah. And if we were to look at Mahler's 10th Symphony, there's also the most important note is the A sharp. So we actually did a really fun experiment, and I highly recommend when you really dig into the pitch work in a composer's good composers with good ears and you want to dig into the pitch work of composers who think about pitch integrity, pitch organization, the integrity of the pitch organization, and then you start picking out your ear, start to pick out, oh, there are notes that this composer favor. Oh, and so for Mahler's 10th Symphony, the most important note is the A sharp. And once we did a experiment, the whole class, as we were studying Mahler for the first time, the whole class of composers, we just hummed. We hummed the A sharp from the very beginning to the climax moment of the symphony, and then to the end. You'll be amazed how the most sort of those column moments in the piece all had the A sharp kind of spining through, thread through the whole piece. But the whole piece is so chromatic. It's like from moment to moment, there's not an immediate clarity. You know, for 30 minutes, he could hold on to his favorite note. So think about this, and in this very small and seems to be manageable movement, Chopin held on to his favorite note, which is the E. So, this might be a coincidence, it might not be, but the A sharp is actually also the third scale degree of F sharp major, which is what the Mahler 10th Symphony first movement, that's the key that it's in. But because of its very highly chromatic treatment of the entire, I guess the harmonic landscape is very chromatic, it kind of doesn't matter as much. Okay, it's also it went through like totally different tonal corners, modulations, and unexpected places. Even the beginning viola. What's the first note? This is the kind of familiarity that composers must have in their master's degrees. In the two of you, master degrees students. First note, C sharp. Second note, D. And so, like, this is the kind of stuff that ends up in repertoire, I guess, repertoire gossips, repertoire talks. Oh, why does the piece start there? How does the piece end? These things. And the more you talk about it, the more likely you're going to start paying attention to that, and it will translate into your own composition process, and in ways that hopefully is not reasonable. It is not to be reasoned. It just kind of happens, and you don't have to force it to happen. Okay, so when we look at this entire movement, this Chopin entire movement in one page, so I want to shift your focus to, on this one page, what do you see? What do you, let's say, take out your most recent piece, put it side by side. What do you see? Just one page. Direct comparison, just on the visual sense. Both of you, all three of you actually, take out a piece that you're working on recently. And I'll take out a piece as well, actually. I should take out a piano piece actually. Piano piece, yes. Okay. All right. So, you guys ready? I have my first page I'm ready to share. And then I would like each one of you to pick one page, and then let's just put it against Chopin one page. I will also take out Mahler's 10th Symphony. Hold on. Oh my God, this is a huge file. Okay. Okay. We have one more student. Cixian, we started an hour ago. Hi, Cixian. We started an hour ago. It was Eastern time.
Yeah, sorry. Did it wrong time.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, just a quick introduction. So, Cixian, this is everybody is either to or from Brooklyn College. Jonathan is a young composer, and you guys met? Cixian, you and Jonathan met at YASP? No? Okay.
I remember her and Jonathan.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good. All right. This is a reunion. Good. So, who is I'll share mine after you guys share yours. So I'm gonna go alphabetic order. I think Mario, right? Wait, no. Who's first? Mario is first. You're G. Letter G. You're first. So can you share a page of your piece and just let us take a look at where you are in terms of and just share with us whatever that you want to talk about in terms of if you step back a minute from this composition process, right, and gain a little space and then put Chopin's one page next to yours. What do you kind of notice in its differences? You're well. I can make you a co-host. Would you like to share your screen? Can't hear you. Mario, we can't hear you.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know if I can put the Chopin up at the same time, but let me see. I'm not very technically savvy here. Do I even have the Chopin here somewhere?
Sometimes you just have to share the entire desktop and then you can put two of them together.
Yeah, let me just do that. Hold on, let me see if I can. No.
And Uno and Jonathan, just get your screens ready to see if you can put them side by side, okay?
Oh, there. Oh, there's that. And then what did I do with the, hold on, I'm still looking for it. Hold on. I put it here somewhere.
Can I call back later? Because I'm using my phone. My phone cannot share screen. And I will use my laptop call back.
Okay.
Okay. So there's that. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking too much time.
No problem. We have until 2 o'clock, so we're okay.
All right, and then let me open that. Oh. All right. Oh, what did I do?
Excellent analysis, by the way, Uno and Mario.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Hmm.
Do you give me the...
Yeah, I made you a co-host.
Okay. Co-host. And then share. There.
Oh, brilliant. Look at that.
It took me a while, but I set it up.
Brilliant. All right.
It's a little sloppy, but it's there.
Nice. Okay, so tell us.
Well, I think that something in common is that it definitely has, instead of one measure being repeated with differences, it's like every 2 measures does something a little bit different. But it kind of has the same, that in that way it kind of has the same feeling. But I think it definitely incorporates a few more, it's not so much in the same kind of key areas like the Chopin would be. But I'm definitely trying to, build by half steps. If you look at the first and the third measure there, it's kind of going up and up by half steps. And then the fifth measure kind of, again, up by a half step. It just keeps kind of growing and growing in that respect.
Thank you, Mario. So one thing that writing for piano, everybody need to take into consideration, and Chopin's Prelude, that entire album, all 24 of them, is kind of like a must memorize. You kind of have to internalize a lot of it. And so, Mario, what I'm seeing is, first of all, the energy is very, very different in your piece. Okay. And like I said, I don't think you're capable of coming up with a bad idea ever. But the difference here is that in this instrument, this piano, because it is a percussion instrument, often when you study this entire 24, all 24 preludes, is that sometimes some of the most lyrical and melodic writing are some of the most kind of non-moving, kind of very staying there, like not moving, like very rooted, the most rooted kind of music happens in the melodic. And this is actually not that melodic. This piece, this first piece, and it's not driven by a melodic idea, although it takes on a silhouette, right? It has a shape, it has an outline of something, but the outline is not a melodic idea, and this piece is not about a melodic idea. And so, Mario, as much as your piece, it makes perfect sense for it to open like this. The difference there is that you have a very the idea is very melodic, your idea, and then this this outline that it's actually very much dependent on the notes itself, versus Chopin's this piece, and it's also much faster than your piece. Right. So and it's not a like incompatible in a way. The next piece in the Prelude also is kind of a very rooted and doesn't really go very much anywhere kind of mood. And for all of you who have ever thought about writing for piano or is writing for the piano, one thing I urge you to think about is that the instrument can start something that's very, very obvious. Start with something that that on piano it's gonna make a statement in one of the parameters. It's either a harmonic statement or a melodic statement or a textural statement. So do one of the three, and just to start kind of simple and just to put it on the page. And so before, so Mario, what if like your first idea, dum da 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 da, what if this idea is not in octaves? Like, what if this is not interrupted by anything else? Right? These what ifs, okay? The writing for what's the most immediate, effective, and successful kind of writing for this instrument. That start there. And you don't have to begin your piece there, but put it there first for now. Nice, very good. And Mario, do you have like a not summary, but is there a takeaway and just kind of comparing, just looking your own work and Chopin? And by the way, I've done many years of this myself, and it's totally informative to just see, oh, wow, what does it mean to kind of keep it simple? Although the Chopin piece looks like it's more notes, but it's actually very transparent. What it's set out to accomplish, and to watch it being accomplished. It's almost like you don't have to add anything. You can't really take away anything. You can't add, you know what I mean? It's kind of like in that very situated space. Do you have a takeaway that that you think you can put into words to share with us?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Thank you. Uno, would you like to do the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So what I realized is it seems like my piece is like changing in every measure. As we can see in his piece, the structure is very clear. You can see it is throughout the whole piece, but it looks like my piece is more lack of the structure, and it is keep changing every measure, and Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree with you. Seems like, okay, most of us do have to make that decision at some point. What is going to lead, what is going to drive the momentum of the piece, right? And most of you, because you're thinking actually a lot about pitches. Okay, I know the kind of, like, there's just so much going on in your head at every bar as you're composing, and sometimes the pitch is the last to appear, but it's the first that you heard in your head, right? And you first, you heard the sound, you heard the pitches, but somehow it's not to be captured on the page in some way. And when in those moments, you know, what Chopin's piece tell us is that if we zoom out from the pitches and to actually trace shapes as opposed to this very microscopic material, which is each individual pitches, then each individual pitch will weigh a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. And that will afford you that kind of thinking that is slightly bigger, slightly futuristic, maybe, you know, look ahead a little bit more, so you could think ahead a little bit more. Okay, thank you, Uno. So I'm gonna ask myself, I'm gonna do it myself now. I'm gonna share a piano solo piece. Now, don't hate me, because this is actually not a piece that I wrote when I was a student. Oh, hold on a second. This whole thing is gonna scare you guys because it's like right in the screen. All right, so this is it, and I'm gonna put it next to Mahler for you guys. Nice. Okay, so so this is the first page, and what I think I'm able to accomplish is that this is a page about like 3 statements of diminuendo, start strong, and 3 different ways to make a diminuendo. Right? 3, yeah, 3. Actually, 2, and the last one kind of didn't refuse to make the diminuendo. So first diminuendo, and then a longer statement of diminuendo, and then the last one is I'm not gonna do the diminuendo anymore. No more diminuendo. So that's sort of my first page. And let's look at Mahler. But notice the texture, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear, although it looks like a lot of notes, but it's actually very transparent. Doesn't really, you know, take a lot of take up a lot of space. What I mean is there's not a lot of resonating things. It's just a lot of gestures, outlines, very quick. This is very quick playing, very fast playing. And then let's look at Mahler. All right, this is the first page. Okay, because it's a very long movement, I'll just include the second page. The viola soli continues here. And the piece starts. This is the A sharp starts at A sharp, on the A sharp, and texture changes here. That's theme B, kind of poking its head in. So again, this addition is really weird. This is supposed to be all bar rests for the rest of the page. Bar rests. This is the only digital edition I have in my computer. But what I notice is that this is a primarily harmonic statement. There are melodic ideas for sure, but the momentum of the piece is driven by the harmonic progression. So the harmonic progression will have to be the momentum. So in other words, the voice leading, all of the voice leading, which is almost what makes harmonic integrity, give it the integrity, the good voice leading, that will have to be the technique. And it's not that Mahler doesn't have the skills and technique of writing texture and exploring register. Okay, in this beginning, everybody is playing in their most comfortable and kind of at ease range, right? So what's the mission of the moment? The moment is about harmonic progression. That's what is driving the momentum. For my piece, what's driving the momentum is diminuendo. The idea, the mission is statements of diminuendo. 3 different ways of looking at diminuendo. First is a very short and quick diminuendo that you can notice. Second is a slightly longer, hang on to it and still diminuendo. The last one, I refuse to give a diminuendo. And Chopin's piece, the mission of this is that, like Uno pointed out, we're rising, but we don't really know whether we're gonna rise. Dum da dum da dum da 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 da. Okay, we'll give it a try. And next try, let's see, da 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 da. Came back a little bit. So it's that kind of build up, or you could say indecision of the harmonic energy, right? And then da 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 da, a bunch of half steps. Da dum da dum da 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 dum. Okay, I think I've explored that. Okay, so da 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 da. That's one kind of exploration, and so the purpose is very clear. How far am I willing to go to touch that note? Which and where do I stop? Where do I stop? And as soon as I touch it, I accomplished the mission of that page. So there is a mission. That mission for every page, every first page of a composition. And what Chopin decided not to do is in the first page to introduce too many of the musical elements, the musical parameters at the same time. Okay, and what that does is that it gives that clarity that you are able to hear today. You're able to listen to, you're able to look at, and to oh, I get the mission of the page. And sometimes it means that you have to be ruthless as a composer. You have to say, I have 3 really good ideas right now. I'm going to have to let go 2 of them for this page. And you're going to have to personally do that, be ruthless and say, these 2, another day. These 2 for another piece. And just focus on one parameter, one mission. What is the mission of this page? And how can I compose it so that that is clear, that comes off as clear to the listener? Almost every piece that withstood the test of time in our repertoire, there's a pretty clear, what I call this mission. And this mission-oriented approach is going to require sacrifice on your part. What are you willing to sacrifice? And in every page, and it's not that, on the first page, I don't know how to write the chords that later in the piece that I think is very pretty, which sort of is anyway, I don't want to get too much into my piece, but it's not that I don't know how to, or that I'm afraid, I was afraid of writing good chords for the very first page of my piece. No. The page had a mission, and the mission, the diminuendo, has, in that moment, for me, it has to be done with this gesture that in the extreme range of the piano in order to make that diminuendo clear, because that's the mission. And yes, the beautiful melody comes later in the piece, and I am creating the text and the circumstances for that to happen. Because believe it or not, and I would be shocked if I didn't think of this. I shock myself all the time. But later in the piece, when it finally arrived at the heart of the melodic idea of the piece, I'm pretty sure there's a metaphorical, much longer kind of diminuendo in the sense of a diminuendo. I'm pretty sure about that. So what did Chopin decide not to do is not to confuse the mission with all the parameters that are available to us at the same time. And in each moment, and that moment is now being enlarged and augmented to an entire page. Okay, you're no longer students learning how to write melodic development or doing chorale exercises, learning how to harmonize. You're no longer doing that anymore. So you gotta figure out how you could step back so that your view is the entire page and not that bar, that one bar. So that what does one bar do right now? Oh, this bar doesn't do much. It looks like really bad music, really bad writing. It's just like one single melody. What is that? And given to the viola, what's that? Well, that, my friend, is clarity. And it's possibly the hardest thing to do. Doing less is the hardest thing to do. Doing less and then do it right is possibly the hardest thing there is. Questions? No questions? We got 1 more minute to go. is this
So
well, no, go ahead.
through the analyze, we can see why the composer do that and how the composer do that. But I am trying to like incorporate those stuff into myself is more like how. I mean the process. I'm still figuring out how they. We can only see the outcome, but we cannot see the process of how he started to think. What his first note, what is his first part, and so I was wondering how should us learn how to like design the pieces and do those analysis.
Really good question, because if we were to kind of boil down to some pragmatic terms for you guys, there's about three things that pop to my head without priority. Okay, all these three things are kind of as important as the next. Does that make sense? So it's the kind of network thinking that language is really bad at expressing. But the first thing is not the most important thing. It's just picking out a random part in the network thinking that a composer has to do, has to get better at, is to not start the piece in the beginning. Don't write your piece from the beginning. And that will kind of force you to shift focus. And sometimes you might want to write the piece backwards. If not writing from the beginning is too arbitrary, like, oh, then I don't know what to do. Well, how about writing it backwards? You might have to have a piece that's the mission, that's kind of the goal of composing. That piece is to go completely backwards. I know how it's going to end, and then I'm going to figure out how to reach that end little by little, little by little. And it doesn't mean to start a piece from the end. It does not mean that you go backwards bar by bar. It just means that you're shifting your concentration from having to do the right thing at the beginning, but to let yourself imagine what the rest of the piece might become, might grow into. Okay, that's one of the three. And the other is actually to have a graph, to have a visual aid. And this is something that John Corigliano, mandatory. If you're studying with John Corigliano, then that's pretty much what he makes you to do for your entire master's and doctorate degree, whatever it is. You study with John, you gotta have a graph. So what this graph does for you is not necessarily that, oh, you have a plan, so you compose bar by bar according to this plan. No, it's a form of exercise in symbolic thinking. So you can afford to lift yourself out of that linguistic trap. Okay, if you have a voice in your head that is language, that is, let's say, English, or whatever it is that you talk to yourself with, that language, if that language is in the form of a language, you're already in trouble. So this kind of process where you shift your continuity work, your temporal work into another symbolic form, sometimes help young composers to concentrate on the symbolic thinking and away. It's a way of getting away from the linguistic traps. So that's the other part of it. And the third part and the last part, and there's no shortcut to it at all, is that you gotta have enough pieces under your belt so that you get better and better at what is the mission that what's a mission of a page, let's say, or a mission of these first 90 seconds of the piece, let's say. What's the mission, right? And that mission will replace ideas. that mission, when the mission replaces your kind of idea thinking, then you'll start to have the kind of concentration. Again, it's about concentration. You'll start to focus on clarity, because then the ideas becomes less important. You have ideas, so what? You know, if your ideas can't come out clearly, it doesn't matter that your ideas are good, or you know, you have lots of ideas. It doesn't matter. So it's that kind of mind shift from idea, and so ideas are very individualistic, you know, and often when composers talk about ideas, they don't really think about what is this trying to accomplish, what is the piece trying to accomplish. And then what ends up happening is that idea kind of oh, I think I've notated the idea, and then what's next? I either come up with another idea, or what am I going to do with this, you know? But if you think about the mission, then the idea kind of becomes at service with your mission. All right, what's that? For me, it was how many ways in this texture I can express a diminuendo. And in the end, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to show you that I refuse to do the diminuendo anymore. I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to set up your expectation. Yeah, I'm trying to diminuendo. I tried. And then no. And that's when the piece shift gear into the next one. So the mission, all three has to happen. And the mission will get more and more clear as more and more pieces you complete. And every piece, you're going to fail in some way. And the best you can do is to fail better the next time. And at some point, you got to give up your pieces. I can't tell you how many pieces I've thrown in the trash. Okay, and sometimes it is after month and month of labor. And I thought I could finish the piece. I could never finish it. I didn't finish it. And I end up in the trash. And it's not that a piece didn't have a double bar. It's because the piece failed in its mission. And as I look through it, read through it myself, the piece does not exist. It's just a bunch of notes. And that's a very, very bad day. You have lots of bad days in front of you. But there's also those amazingly rewarding days after you have tossed out plenty pieces, okay? 70% of your output right now, and that's a generous estimation, 70% of your output belongs in the trash can. And this is already the best case scenario. I'm sorry to say this. And that's the brutal side of mastering this art form that the schools will not tell you. The schools that you're in are not going to tell you this. Okay, until you've had however many mileage hours you put in, and then that number increases a little bit. So you get to keep more than 30%. And that's just how it goes. Every bar, you got to be willing to fail and just let it out, and just to see what you're made of. What those music moments, what are they made of? And so thank you, Uno and Mario, for really amazing analysis. It's so important that we look at pieces not from theoretical perspective, but from composers' artistic perspectives. And this is where we can have this kind of discussion, is that really the time travel part I talked about earlier, right? Do you think Chopin didn't have your difficulties? Of course he had. Most composers in their early stage are very much into expressing an idea or two, or three, or four. Yeah, but very seldom. And it's much later after, ideas kind of is not sustainable. So what is it that is an idea, but it's sustainable, well, then you have to have a mission. Okay, and then when mission happens, it kind of like over composing kind of start to fall away naturally. You'll see. Once like your ideas start to have a mission, have a purpose, the purpose of that idea, and start to, oh, so actually right now I need to be able to just pull off one single melodic line and see how far I can stretch it, because it's serving a purpose for some 90 bars later. I want this to be something else that is very satisfying. And that's why right now, this moment, I gotta keep it so simple. I gotta be able to write such ridiculously elementary music. It looks so simple and so non-musical, but has to be done right now. Delay that impulse to make every moment justifiable, perfect, or correct. That impulse will always be there. But the shift is, if I have a mission, then right now, I understand I'm doing the prep work to accomplish that mission. So 3 things. Really good question, Uno. So 3 things. One is have a graph, orient yourself in symbolic thinking. Go away from as much language as you can. And, you know, that's number 1. Number 2 is don't start from the beginning. Don't compose your piece from the beginning. Yeah, try any number of ways, but maybe start from composing from the end. So graph and this, and then you gotta just write and be able to toss your pieces. Compose, toss, composer, compose, toss. many pieces later, that mind shift happens, and it's almost like it's the most rewarding thing there is. And this is literally what makes it worth it for me. You know, the satisfaction of having arrived and having completed a piece that that I found meaningful and purposeful, and that purpose was accomplished, and that I've said something, that feeling, nothing else in the world, in the material world, or in any world, for me, this is it. You know, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life kind of chasing that meaning. That's the most important thing for me. Okay, nothing else matters as much as that, because it was so rewarding, and that kind of completes my soul or something. Like, it's almost like some supernova went off in my head. That kind of, and everything else in life kind of almost all of a sudden made sense to me, and it's all meaningful. It's all worth it. All the pain and all the labor, all the pieces I've tossed in the past that I thought was wasted. I've wasted my life or wasted my time, paid all this tuition, take out all these student loans, suffered my parents' disapproval. My school literally expelled me because I want to be a composer. All of that was worth it, because I have accomplished something that was meaningful. And that happened, just to give you an estimate of how much time you might have to put in it. That happened for me was 2008. So I started composing, I was 12. So how many years? Seriously, started 18, 17, and 18. And so 2008, I was 28 years old when like that moment kind of started to happen for me. How many years is that? Like accumulatively, maybe 10. Maybe 10 or 11. I was already finished with my master's. And right now, whatever you see in my catalog that is published is less than 30% of the composition I have composed and never published, and will never see the light of day. It's actually all in my closet. It's two big cases of manuscript. I didn't really toss, but I kind of put it away. So I have to go, and again, it's really frustrating that I don't get to do this in person with you guys. Any last words, last remark? Next studio class, I would propose something instrument workshop, if you guys are up for it. And I can ask. Nowadays everybody's remote, so it doesn't really matter. Whatever instrument is actually open. And the violin, you can always, oh my god, there's no end to studying violin and the string instruments. So the other really good instrument to get into is clarinet. Easy to set up, easy to find good players. So yeah, we'll see. Can probably schedule it for December, sometime towards the end of the semester. And Mario, Uno, by that time, hopefully you finish your piece already for the semester. Okay, any last minute question, and then I have to go.
And I just want to say thank you so much, Professor, and then Mario and Uno. Like today's, the repertoire analysis was, well, the kind of analysis I've never seen before in my life. And the depth and the intricacies just like blew my mind, and it was just fascinating.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, you guys, this is not just above average Mario and Uno. This is like first tier, top tier analysis work that is very much composer's analysis. And this is the kind of work that I don't think was even offered in any other school. When I was learning this from Niels Wigland, who actually Niels was 65 or 65 years old when he finally figured out that how he wanted to teach form and analysis. And in my education, form and analysis, the repertoire study, once a week, we meet once a week for 3 hours. 3 hours. Hello. Yeah, 3 hours a week. Composers get together and just do composer talk and study repertoire. And throughout his career, I mean, he was a chair at Manhattan School for 30 years. And when I arrived, I was at the very last 5 years of his teaching. And you would not believe that this composer, because he had been such an active composer, unlike most composers kind of stopped composing after a while, after they started teaching, he was such an active composer that his view and his values just kept on changing. And I arrived at a moment where he started shifting all the analysis courses from orienting in the theories and shifted into his own observations. And then I started noticing how much he was counting. We were talking about proportions and orders and sequences, narrativity, and all of these issues that it's almost like these are not even the keywords in music theory, in current music theory and musicology. So yeah, so I kind of I just wanted to like embody that type of thinking in observation to the repertoire. And I also know that this type of thinking and this type of analysis is actually, it's so not mainstream. Very few, I mean, Nils already retired, so I don't know that a lot of people are even talking about this anymore. And I feel very sad about this, because the theory has, I was very, very, very good at theory, okay? It did not help me at all. No, I shouldn't say at all, but it did not help me with composing, and the kind of composing that liberated me, and enabled me to have what is the beginning of authenticity and artistic integrity. These things did not come from theory classes and getting A's in your theory class. These are coming from the form and analysis that eventually Nils all of a sudden, changed his entire curriculum for the entire school, actually, for all the composers, not just for, one particular degree. So was life changing, and I'm very honored to be able to bring this, that I'm able to get, sort of the last period of Nils' genius, and I'm able to kind of pass some of it to you guys.
Yeah, honestly, it's a really wonderful, amazing studio lesson, because I am kind of in the midst of how to apply music theory, like kind of like communicate between the gap of music theory and my own composition, because no matter how many times I learn my harmony, it's just still like I have problem with that in my own composition. And it's really amazing to see Mario and Uno's piano school. I think it's like, I skipped to the first hour. I think it's like first hour's writing. It's really amazing to see it. Yeah, it also reminds me a lot of things, like the piece need a mission, not just music ideas. I just look back on my pieces on my SoundCloud. I feel like there are some moments interesting about the piece, but the whole piece lack of mission, so lack of clarity. It totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, and by the way, since most of you are studying composition very seriously, and all of you are capable and are very already on your way to be able to create very good moments. Okay, moments are just moments. Yes, you have moments. That's good. You're at a very good place. Okay, what's next? Great. All right, I think it's time. And Mario, Uno, thank you. And also thank you for letting Jonathan and Cixian kind of audit today. So let's be in touch. I'll see both of you, Mario, Uno, I'll see you next week. Jonathan, I'll see you on Monday. So I guess my very last word is that studying repertoire, being with the repertoire, is gonna probably get you a lot of negative feedback from the world, because the world kind of denied that there's anything worth investigating pre 1911, pre 1912, actually, pre 20th century for composers, and this has been a very strong trend in the higher education in music schools. But if I had learned anything that will stay with me forever from my previous studies, is that there are more to learn from the music that appears simple, like Mozart, like this piece is actually very simple, right? There's more to learn from them than I could ever imagine studying and learning. It's endless, the stuff that I can get from and learn and appreciate. And oh man, I've known this piece for 25 years, and I didn't notice this. Last time I studied this, last time I played this, last time I blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't notice this, and I didn't notice this. It keeps happening. And the pieces that this type of renewed understanding that keeps happening happens to be these pieces. So good work, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, I'm really gonna hang up now. You guys take care, okay?
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you
Take
soon, everyone.